And now I'd like to welcome to the program Velina Tchakarova. She is the founder of FACE Geopolitical Consultancy, joining us from Austria. Hello, and thank you for joining us on TVP World.
Hello, thank you for the invitation.
Yes, now President Zelenskyy has, he's making a little bit of a European tour. Would you say that he is being successful in raising money for more arms and military equipment?
Obviously, he has a very hard task in actually making sure that, all European states are on the same page, and we've seen some significant progress. Think of the European Peace Facility promising 6.5 billion aid for Ukraine, including a critically important one for the military aid. But once again, as in the past, we saw that there is some, incoherence in a sense that Hungary again, of course, tried to sabotage the process. Obviously, this problem between Hungary and Ukraine is here to stay. Now, in general, my expectation is that there will be another push coming from the European Union to somehow bypass the Hungarian blockade. But again, you need to consider that we are actually approaching the European election in June, and this is going to be, I think, a serious obstacle.
So this tour, the tour of south of Europe so far is bringing in money and promises, but where will it conclude? Is it going to end in Switzerland with some potential round of peace talks? What do you think?
I think that the peace conference in Switzerland in mid-June is actually setting the stage for a series of critically important international events. This event has to take place. Hopefully, the American president will attend the event, because otherwise, as you can imagine, the message in Moscow, but also in some partners of Russia, that Russia is currently trying to somehow bring on its side, think of China, think of Brazil. So I think that it's very important for the United States to be present. Most of the European states will be present as well. Meanwhile, around 50% of those that have been invited have confirmed. And as I said, this is going to be the first stage in series of international diplomatic events that will be steered, facilitated, and more or less promoted by the European Union and the European Union states. Here, of course, you are very much familiar with the agenda, which is going to be based on the 10 points plan that Ukraine has launched already at the beginning of the war, but it's going to actually set the stage for a lot of critically important topics linked to food security, energy security, nuclear safety, and so on. So I think it's very important that we see it happening.
Now, President Zelenskyy also invited Chinese President Xi to this peace conference in Switzerland. Has there been any, I'm not aware of any response at this time, but would the Chinese president's presence at the conference be a good thing, or maybe not such a good thing? What are your thoughts on that?
Let's first point to the current signals coming from Beijing. The first important signal that we heard was during the summit between the Russian President Putin and Xi Jinping in Beijing, where China announced that it would support a peace conference that's recognized by both Russia and Ukraine. So that gives you already an idea that China is more or less still supporting the Russian position, also when it comes to international diplomacy. Obviously, the peace summit in Switzerland is one that is being facilitated by the European and the Western partners also international partners of Ukraine. So here I do not expect that there will be a top rank official coming to Switzerland. However, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Chinese official attending the event. But what is more important is to not witness, let's say, twofold international diplomacy. That means Russia trying to initiate its own diplomatic events, peace summits, or whatever kind of format with the help of China, with the help of the BRICS Plus countries. We have a very important BRICS Plus summit taking place in Kazan this year in Russia, and one that's organized by Brazil when it comes to G20 summit. And here I think Russia will try to more or less steer the positions of critically important partners. Think also of India when it comes to the Russian positions.
So you mentioned the 10-point plan that is now quite old. Now, it is obviously we feel that, especially coming here from Poland, that the right is on Zelensky's side, that all of these 10 points are valid. However, are they really practical at this stage of the war, especially given the Kharkiv incident? Which of those points do you think are still achievable, and is the whole plan still the points are still basically doable, or should the plan be greatly rearranged?
Well, obviously, let me start with the maximum goal on behalf of Ukraine that's included in the plan, and that is, of course, regaining territorial integrity per 1991 borders and the withdrawal of Russian troops from all the territory of Ukraine. I think that this is, of course, the most important and strategically critical goal that Ukraine is still pursuing with the help of its partners, where I see the most of, let's say, strategic dissonance. You know, when you hear the European capitals, when you listen to the different Western positions, you get an idea that there is no strategic consensus on that. But on a lot of the topics included in this plan, I think that still there is a lot of consensus on behalf of the international community. Think of the critically important point about the nuclear safety. We still have a lot of visits on behalf of the International Agency for Atomic Safety, which actually makes sure that there is no risk for any kind of, let's say, explosion linked to the biggest European nuclear power plant in Zaporizhia. Another important point is about food safety, food security. Here we know that Ukraine is still a critically important exporter of food commodities, which are also important beyond the European borders. And I think that the international community, given the fact that we saw also the first African delegation last year, is paying attention to this topic. Another important point from my point of view is actually the freedom of navigation. Right now, as we speak, we are witnessing a serious crisis in the Red Sea that actually is affecting European trade, not only the Eastern European terrain and ongoing war, but also countries like Egypt, where the European Union has been providing a lot of financial help. Final point, think also of the swaps of prisoners, still a critically important point when it comes to the ongoing war in Ukraine, given the fact that, unfortunately, once again, we are in a situation of serious offensive by the Russian troops, and we may see the next conditions where certain negotiations in terms of prisoner swaps are important as channels of communication.
Certainly. Well, we still have a couple weeks to go before that big peace summit in Switzerland. I'd like to thank you, Velina Tchakarova from the Face Geopolitical Consultancy. Thank you very much for joining us today on TVP World.
Thank you very much.